Hey guys, so I'm back with another spooky story, and this one is a submission from Zambia. So she says in the city of Ndola, there were two twin girls. One named Natasha and the other one was Janet, and they were both known to be prostitutes. So one faithful day, a woman came to their house saying that basically one of them is sleeping with her man. And not just any man, her husband. The man done left his wife and kids and went to go live with the twins. So when the woman came and confronted them about her man, they beat the woman and kicked her out. The next day, around 9 a.m., the lady came back again. And this time, she came back saying, again, I might butcher this, Twala filila musanga. She says that it's a Bemba word in the night. I still don't know what it means. But the woman would come back saying that phrase. The twins and the man were sleeping in the house. Then suddenly, the house catches on fire. So then the firefighters came and stopped the fire. She wasn't done. Because the next day, around 9 a.m., the house caught on fire again. And nobody knew where the fire was even coming from. So again, the firefighters came back. And as soon as the firefighters left, the fire started burning again. So now everyone's worried. Like, where is this fire coming from? What is causing this? And this is when the twins is like, nah, I think something magical must be going on right here. So let's contact a witch doctor. Anganga. Per. Well, when that doctor entered the house, he ran right back out that bitch screaming. The witch doctor is frantic. He says as soon as he got in there, he saw a freaking lion. And this motherfucker is ferocious and it looks real. So even the witch doctor wasn't gonna take his chances. And this kept on going. The house just kept setting itself on fire for 21 days after that. After 21 days, they decided to go to another witch doctor who's a little bit more powerful. And that doctor told them that maybe they should apologize to the lady. You know, the one whose husband one of them stole. Maybe she should apologize or even give him back. But the only problem is the woman and her kids had already moved out of town at that point. And the person who submitted the story said, as we speak now, ever since 2021, nobody has ever lived in that compound. Wow. Thank you for submitting that story. And just so you guys know, I make these videos to let y'all know that this stuff exists everywhere. It can exist in your backyard. Yes, you, even you. So be respectful and be kind to one another just because your life might just actually depend on it. I won't keep y'all too long. Make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel. My YouTube name is Rebecca's Journey. If you just look up Rebecca's Journey on YouTube, you're gonna find me. Look up Rebecca's Journey Spooky Stories, you're gonna find me. The link is also in my bio, by the way, where it says Instagram. And while you're there, make sure you follow me on Instagram so I know that it's real, duh. And also, a lot of y'all follow me on Instagram, but y'all don't interact with my content. So why do you even follow me? Thank you, my abducted humans. I'm officially back. You guys are gonna keep getting these story times all week. It's been a crazy weekend. I have a recap coming. I was given a Zambian name, so I'm now officially Mutale. So Nela Mutale Rebecca Charles. Beautiful. Anyway, Zambia Kuchalo. I got another Lugau story. Are you guys ready? This person submitted a story to me claiming they're a Lugau. And she says she watches my content and laughs all the time. This is the story of how she was sent to destroy somebody's life. So basically, she says that somebody came to her in the spirit realm, so like via dream or whatever, or vision. The spirit told her, we need you to get rid of Miranda. And the Luga who haven't done missions all her life is like, okay, well, I guess this is just another one of them. She says as a Luga, they feed off of other people's energy. However long you stay alive is however long they're sucking like the living life out of you, basically. Miranda is very much so a devoted Christian. However, she stepped on somebody's foot and they ordered her death. The Lugau says she knew exactly what school that Miranda went to. So she would go and stand in front of that school every single day and basically stake out and watch Miranda. Until one day, the Lugau's plan was ready. Unbeknownst to Miranda that she's being stalked and watched, this young beautiful girl approaches Miranda and compliments her and tells her how pretty she is. Miranda says thank you, and the two girls start chatting. Miranda asks the Lugau if she went to the same school as her, and the Lugau says no. She went to a school nearby. And if it isn't obvious enough, this Lugau does not look like a Lugau right now. It's in its physical human body. so Miranda would have no idea. So they were going to have these random run-ins with each other. Miranda would leave school and walk and then run into the Lugau, and this was pretty common, and they would even walk home together. One day, the Lugau decides to give Miranda a pet cat. It was a black and white cat. So Miranda, not thinking anything of it, she was also a fan of animals. She took the cat and took the cat home. And the Lugau says that what Miranda did not know was that it wasn't a real cat and that it was an enchanted spirit under a spell made to look like a cat. And this mischievous spirit would go on and bring so many downfalls into Miranda's life. And Miranda, never knowing why. Lugau says after she gave Miranda the cat, she started to give her space, so she wouldn't run to her as often after school anymore. But once in a while, she would check in to see is everything going to hell. And fair enough, when she would check in, both Amanda's health and life was just slowly degrading. She said the cat's entire purpose was to suck out Miranda's life energy. So the longer that the cat stayed there, the less likely Miranda's chances of survival were. So as Miranda's health is declining, the Lugau wouldn't see her around school as much. A few months went by. Lugau says she completely forgets about Miranda because at this point, like, she hasn't seen her in a long time, so she assumed that she's... Until one day, a few months later, the Lugau wakes up and goes outside, and on her front door was the unalived cat that she gave to Miranda. She said it must have been 3 months after the fact, but the cat was returned to her doorsteps, unalived. And when that happened, she assumed that the jig was up. So she waited till it was nighttime when it was really dark outside, when obviously everybody would be asleep, including Miranda, because remember, she knows where Miranda lives. So what does she do? To complete the mission, that night, she flies over to Miranda's house. And she says every time she takes form, she takes the form of a bird, and a bird that has fire coming out of its tails. And she says the fire is the energy that pushes them. She says she deposited herself right on top of Miranda's house to, finish the job. But she said something felt different. Almost felt like there were no spirits in the house. So this Lugau goes to look all the way around the property just to notice that Miranda and her entire family had moved out of that house. That night, she figured that Miranda moved out of town. And she said, wow, Miranda must have really been protected. Okay, guys, if you guys enjoyed this story, thank you for watching, obviously. And make sure you leave me a follow. We are 90,000 of you guys in. Oh my God, 90,000 people. That's crazy. Thank you to each and every single last one of you that left me a follow. And if you're not already, go ahead and go onto my YouTube page. My YouTube name is Rebecca's Journey. Subscribe to my YouTube. We are on the road to 10,000 subscribers. On my YouTube, you'll find more of these long stories, Lugau stories, mermaid stories, dark and the mysterious, everything. And if you see where it says Instagram in my bio, you click that, both my YouTube and my Instagram link will pop up. While you're there, click on my Instagram and follow me there too, so I know that it's real. There's so many of y'all that follow me on Instagram, but don't interact with my content either. So like, I don't know. You guys are embarrassing me. Almost 1,000 of y'all followed me on Instagram, so where are y'all when I post? Thank you for watching. I'll be dropping so many more story times this week, so stay tuned. I love you, my abducted humans. Bye. First of all, I love her content, but can I give a different perspective though? Love your content, queen. Like, love you so much. As far as peeing in the ocean and pooping in the ocean, I do feel that that is highly disrespectful to the fellow humans that you have to share that body of water with, and to the animals that live in the water. Releasing toxic waste into the water will absolutely affect the health of the environment. Now, do I think that you are necessarily pissing off, see what I did there, those marine kingdoms when you pee in the water, for example? I wouldn't say so, and I'm gonna tell you why. Because one, before toilets and everything like that was created, where were we peeing and getting rid of waste? Depending on where you live, it would either be outside or in the water. And if you do your waste outside in nature, then that poop breaks down and becomes fertilization for the plants and the trees. Even if you are taking a shit on Gaia, it turns into the proper nutrients that the earth needs to make it flourish. Now, I don't know about the science for the ocean, but I would assume a fish coming across your poop seriously affect their health. Because I also don't think that those marine spirits live anywhere near shore. Their homes are so deep within the water. I think that it's one of the many parts of the ocean that has not been discovered. It's not like you're going to take a dive and find a mermaid unless they want to be found. Their homes are so deep, purposefully so they don't run into humans. And again, the water is a portal. So it's deep within a portal. So I don't think it's raining pee in their home. I don't think the collective pee would make it that far down and into a portal to piss them off. Now, going in the water on your cycle. Again, in different cultures, it is known that when women are bleeding, they are in their most powerful / vulnerable time. So it is common that women would go into the water and cleanse themselves around their period time and go into the water to connect with Mami Wata. Some marine spirits are known to love offerings. So again, I don't think your blood would travel that far down to disturb an actual mermaid spirit. Now, going swimming on your period in a water that is known to have sharks around, the sharks are gonna smell your blood for sure and come after you. But I don't think it'll be a mermaid unless she been on the lookout for you. They don't just take random people, or else everybody would wind up missing. I don't know. That's just what I think. Don't pee and poop in the ocean because some of us love seafood. And it can be that simple. Simply just being aware that you're sharing this body of water with other people may inspire you to get your ass out that water and into a bathroom. If you have, I don't think you're cursed and that they're out to get you. You're good. Oh, and I forgot to mention that some women actually go to the ocean and give birth in the water, as it is known to be a super spiritual experience for them. Giving birth is messy. You've heard about dolphins and pregnant women. So yeah, it's a thing that women would actually go into the ocean and like deliver their babies. When you're delivering a baby, everything comes out. So, hope that helps. Sorry, I'm back. I have a story submission from Ghana. So this girl says that she lives in a 2-story house. So the first floor and then the second floor. She says all the bedrooms are basically upstairs, and downstairs is basically where the kitchen is at and the living room and dining room. So most people would just sit downstairs and just watch TV on the couch because they have like a really big couch and a really big like living space to watch TV. Now we're gonna call the girl who submitted the story Kira. She says that she's had some occurrences in the house that were a little bit mysterious, but nothing this crazy. So she says one day she's upstairs chilling in her bedroom minding her own business when suddenly Kira hears her mother call out to her. So Kira answers from upstairs asking her mother what she wants. Her mother replies and tells her that she needed her to go into her bedroom and bring her a shirt for her. Kira being like, okay, cool, whatever. She goes into her mother's bedroom because remember all the bedrooms are upstairs, grabs a shirt and goes downstairs to bring it to her mother. However, when she gets downstairs, she doesn't see her mom. So naturally, she starts calling out for her mom. And as she's calling out for her, nobody's answering. That's strange because she hasn't even heard a door open or anything. So her mom still has to be in the house. She goes by the bathroom. No one's in the bathroom. No one's in the kitchen. And no one's in the living room. And she's downstairs holding her mother's shirt, looking around, trying to figure out where is her mother, who just called her and asked her to bring her this shirt downstairs just a few minutes ago. So she says at this point, she's starting to feel a little bit panicked. So she calls for her mother one more time. But this time it's more of like a creeped out, like, Mom, type of call. And now last time that she says Mom, fair enough, her mother would answer. Her mother would say, yes, sweetie, I'm over here. So Kira turns around like, over where? She says she then hears somebody going up the steps. So she said, oh, it's clearly my mom. My mom is just playing a prank on me. So she screams out, she said, Mom, stop playing with me. And then she said she heard her mother say, I'm up here. I'm upstairs. So Kira's like, why are you upstairs when you just asked me to come down from upstairs and bring you a shirt downstairs? And as she's arguing with her mother at this point, she says she hears her front door unlock, opens, and in walks her actual mother. So Kira is startled, to say the least. I was just talking to you. Kira's just telling her mom, like, how are you? I was just, you were in the, I was just talking to you. You asked me to bring you a shirt. I bought you the shirt and you winded up upstairs like me. Why are you at the front door? How? And her mother said, I don't know who you were talking to, child, but it definitely wasn't me. I just got in for the day. And Kira said that she wishes that that was actually the last time that something like that happened in that house. Spooky. Well, thank you so much for submitting that story. If you're new here and you don't know my face by now, I tell spooky stories on my page. Mermaid stories, voodoo stories. I talk about the dark and the mysterious. So if you're a fan of these stories, make sure you hit that follow button so you can get these stories delivered right onto your For You page. And if you're looking for something a little bit more to scratch that itch, I have a YouTube page that have many, many more and longer versions of these stories. I just told an hour-long story out there about what it was like to be friends with someone who was cursed, or better yet, a succubus. I'm not sure what she was, but you guys can go check out that story and let me know yourself. In the meantime, I love you, my abducted humans. I love you guys so much for all your support. We are on the road to 10,000 people on YouTube and on the road to 100K on this app, which is mind-blowing to me. And since I was gone for 3 days, I am aggressively back. I will be posting so many more of these story times. Okay, bye. Let's ensure that you never sleep again. Spooky story time. This one is short, but it's a story that I used to hear when I was a kid. Apparently, this used to happen to people in Haiti. What would you do if you lived alone, you left your house, and when you come back home, you find on your dining room table a fully cooked plate of food that you didn't cook? Story time. Basically, this man used to live with his family, but then, after his misconduct, he got kicked out and he winded up going to live by himself. So he got this little spot, perfect just for him. And keep in mind, this is a Haitian man and a Haitian old story. So dude himself knew about magic, he knew about voodoo and all that stuff. But every once in a while, you kind of have to let your guard down a little bit and just live. So where he lived, he didn't live very far from his baby mother and his family and stuff. So one day he gets up, he gets ready, gets dressed, and leaves the house and goes to work. And you guessed it, when he left the house, there was nothing in the kitchen, there was nothing cooking, there was nothing. He left the house and he locked the door, as you do in Haiti every day. So to his surprise, after a long day of work and he comes back to the house, he says he smells food. But that's really odd. He goes to the kitchen, and sitting on top of the kitchen table is a fully cooked, full course meal. The food looked so nicely done. And then on top of that, it was covered as if somebody cooked it and is just saved it for him to get home. Now, this isn't really a time of telephones in Haiti where you could just pick up your phone and just call whoever. He looked in his kitchen. It's clean. No utensils, pots, pans, anything were used. The sink is dry. Nobody tried to wash a dish, nothing. So he opens the food and he's just staring at it, getting a good whiff, and he's like, yo, this thing smells good. And keep in mind, it's after a very long day of work, so this man is hungry. And the more he stares at the food, it's the more appetizing it becomes. This guy went from, where did this food come from, to I don't know if I should have this, to staring at the food, to now the food looking and being irresistible. So he puts the food away, he closes it, he decides he's not gonna eat it, not today. It was too weird for him. He wraps it up and he throws the food away. And whole night he's thinking, maybe somebody came and dropped the food off for him. Maybe it was his baby mother. It could have been his mom. So he's really tripping. He wakes up the next day, nothing happens. A couple weeks go by, nothing happens. Until it does. Because 2 weeks later, he comes back home from work, and you guessed it, another full course meal is waiting for him in the kitchen. Just like the first one, but this time it was a fish dinner. His favorite. At this point, he remembers what happened 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago, he didn't want to eat the food because it was a little bit too weird for him, so he wrapped it up and threw it away. Nothing happened. Now he's back home. 2 weeks later, there's another plate of food at the table waiting for him. So he decides to open it up. This one is more appetizing than the first time. So he's like, what the fuck? He's staring at the food. The food looks good. It looks appetizing. And he's like, finally, he's gonna give in. It was a long day of work. And at this point, what's the worst that could happen? He eats the food and he eats every last bite, and it was great. Except the following day, he woke up to something itchy. Something is just in his ear. When he goes to scratch his ear, to his surprise, there were worms coming out of them. It was the same case for his nose and his butthole. Live worms started exiting out of this guy's holes. And when he looked down, he was surrounded by worms that people would have to assume only came from inside of him. And no one could help him because it was way too many worms. And the worms ended up feasting on him from the inside out. The end. Thank you guys so much for watching this spooky story. I have so many more coming. I am posting a new spooky story every day on my page, so make sure you come right back for more. Also, I know a lot of you guys wanted to know the story of why my father cannot have kids. You really don't have to wait anymore because the story is up on my YouTube channel. The full story, it is 37 minutes long. So you get the full tea on why my daddy's shooting blanks and the love or binding spell that kept my mother and my father together. It's all on my YouTube, so you better go check it out. And if you're not following me on Instagram, then clearly you don't fuck with me the way I think you do. So prove me wrong by following me on Instagram. I love you, abducted humans, and I will be back with another spooky story tomorrow. Ask and you shall receive. Do you believe in voodoo and dark magic? Maybe you might change your mind after this true story. Story time. We're gonna call the person who submitted the story Julie because I don't know if she wants to remain anonymous or not. So Julie says growing up, she wasn't really involved in anything involving voodoo. She has been more focused on church and her relationship with God. This is due to her grandmother, her mom's mother, being a very firm believer of God. Julie says she cannot emphasize how much her grandmother has held this family together through prayer. Get comfortable, because in order for this story to make sense, I have to take you guys back. So Julie's mother and father met through mutual friends. Eventually, they started to date and planned to get married. And this is when they had Julie. The pregnancy was hard for her mother, especially with the mistreatment that she was getting from Carol. Carol being the father's sister. Julie's mother never went into details about the abuse that she endured, but she told her little minor details about it. For example, when Carol would have guests over, they would drink, and her heavily pregnant mother would often be left to clean up huge clusters of bottles. Like, how you got a pregnant woman cleaning up after you? So after Julie was born, her mom and her dad's relationship did not last. And unfortunately, they went their separate ways. Julie went with her mom, and she ended up drifting from her father as if he was a stranger. So as stated before, Julie's relationship with God started as a child. Her relationship with God helped her a lot since she grew up with a lot of health issues. Julie and her mother would take frequent trips to the hospital to the point where their own homes became like a mini clinic. They had so many antibiotics and prescriptions that had been given to her. And this girl is talking asthma, ulcers, and ear problems. She had to get surgery. They told her without the surgery, it can travel from one ear to the other, which would cause her to go deaf. And so much more that she can't even list. For example, one time she got sick and her grandmother took her to a new church. And the crazy thing is, the pastor mentioned Carol's name. This is a new church. They've never been there before. There's no way this pastor would have known about Carol. How would he know about Julie's father's sister? Nonetheless, this pastor told her that Carol, the dad's sister, was doing voodoo on Julie and that she had a picture of Julie from when she was young. So Julie said that as good Christians, they prayed and put this issue behind them. Julie gets sick again. They go to a new church and the same thing happened. Once again, they prayed and put the issue behind them. So this had happened when she was about 9 or 10. Because of this, in the back of her mind, she knew she had to be cautious of this lady. Later, Julie came to find out that her father inherited a piece of land that will most likely be passed down to Julie. And as you would assume, Carol, the father's sister, is not happy about this. Julie is not gonna get that land. Not if Carol can help it. Carol was working every angle to make sure that Julie does not get that land, because Julie found out that Carol, who had 2 children, a boy and a girl, had sent her older son to go live with Julie's father on that land. A strategy to get them closer, marking her territory. Now, when Julie gets to grade 6, she kept getting ill. This was strange because it was happening back to back. After 2 weeks, she'd get sick, go to the hospital, get treated again, and repeat. So they prayed a lot during this time, and her grandmother would call her and even pray on the phone with her occasionally. And this continued to happen until the end of the year. Julie started getting better and she can continue to go back to school. A few weeks later, Julie's mother finds out that Carol's son had tragically passed away. He had gotten sick and suddenly passed away. Julie believes that with prayer and great faith, whatever had been planned was reversed and heavily backfired. Wow. Thank you so much for submitting this story. I'm so glad that you're okay now. If you want credit for your story and you are seeing this, go ahead and leave a comment If you are into the dark and mysterious, and you are now seeing my face, if you want more of these long, spooky, dark stories, I have stories like these longer available on my YouTube channel. My YouTube link can be found on the top of my TikTok page where it says Instagram. If you click on that, both my Instagram link and my YouTube link will pop up. And while you're there, go ahead and follow me on Instagram too, so I know that it's real. Leave me a sub on YouTube, and you guys, we are almost at 8,000 subscribers. I am blown away and I love you guys. I have so many exciting things coming up for you guys. And if you really love me, you're gonna leave a comment under this video. Okay, bye. Y'all remember when I told the story about that guy who had like 27 ghosts inside of him? I just got a story from a lady who was possessed by 179 spirits. Don't know if you want to watch this one at night, but spooky story time. The person who submitted the story, will call her Scorpio. So Scorpio said that her aunt was in a relationship with this man, but the man's mother didn't like her, so she kept making things very difficult for her. Her aunt always wanted a baby. However, due to complications as a child, back when she was 17, one of her ovaries had to be taken out. It was really difficult for her during that year to bear a child, and she had a miscarriage, unfortunately. And after the miscarriage, the aunt started to feel like maybe somebody's working obia on her. So she went to a spiritual mother for a bath, hoping to cleanse herself. But things just got worse. So a few weeks after the bath, during the night, she went into her grandmother's house. Her grandmother thought she was behaving kind of strange, so her grandmother asked her to take a bath. And Auntie refused. But then a few minutes later, she winded up going to take the bath. Then her grandmother asked her to eat. She refused. Scorpio says her other aunt, who at the time was a minor, was also staying at the grandmother's house. Scorpio says that the following day, her youngest aunt was woken up by her grandmother and her other aunt screaming. So the youngest aunt went into the grandmother's room and saw her sister pulling her mother's hair. So the older aunt attacking Scorpio's grandmother. And as she's pulling the grandmother's hair, she is screaming at her. She's telling her, "Say I love Judah." She's like forcing her as she's physically attacking her. "Say I love Judah." And out of fear, her grandmother would just say it, "I love Judah, I love Judah." And after the aunt got the answer she was looking for, she let her grandmother go. So grandmother turns to the younger aunt and tell her to go fill up some water. But for whatever reason, the older aunt did not like that idea. So while the youngest aunt is by the tank filling up the water, from the back, her sister ran up on her and attacked her. And fair enough, started screaming the same thing, "Say I love Judah." But the younger aunt couldn't say anything because she was being choked aggressively. The youngest aunt said that she tried to say it, it's just that she could not breathe. So while she's being attacked and choked, she's like kicking and like trying to punch, but she can't get a word out. She said at the time she was just a child, and it was so scary because her sister, who was on top of her attacking her, says that her voice sounded a little bit deeper than usual. A lot deeper than usual. It actually didn't sound like her sister's voice at all. It sounded like it was more than one voices talking at the same time. A lot of men tried to pull the older aunt off of the younger aunt, but nobody was able to get that girl off of her, except for this well-respected, known spiritual man. He lived in the village and he was well into his years. After he pulled her off, grandmother had to perform CPR on the younger aunt and rushed her to the hospital, where she suffered minor injuries. She had an injury to her throat, skin on her throat as well was bruised, and pieces of skin on her nose was bitten off. They caught the older aunt and sent her to a psychiatric ward. However, the grandmother knew that this was not an actual mental health problem. So the grandmother reached out to a spiritual mother that she knew and trusted and asked for help. And this spiritual mother was one of the Orisha faith. After her aunt showed signs of recovery, which was about a month after the whole incident happened, she was then taken to the spiritual mother for a bath. Obviously, her aunt, the one that was attacked, was very uncomfortable there, and immediately after the bath, she dipped. Her grandmother was a bit worried. However, the spiritual mother told her not to worry because the spirits would take care of whatever was going on with the aunt. And she mentioned to the grandmother that her aunt had a legion of 179 spirits inside of her. And that lesion didn't go away easily either. It was very visible whenever they were present. Her stomach would swell as if she was 3 to 4 months pregnant. But eventually, they left. All 179 of them. Wow, thank you so much for submitting that story. If you have another spooky story that you'd like me to tell, please feel free to submit them. You can just go ahead and send me a message on TikTok. I'll probably see it at some point. And if you're a fan of the dark and mysterious stories, make sure you follow me here on this app for more of these spooky stories. And if you want more, make sure you head over to my YouTube channel. I have longer and better stories there. Anyway, my abducted humans, I love you guys so much. I'll see you guys in the next spooky story. You know how they say be your own man's? It be your own man's. Spooky story time. This is a story submission. I don't know if she wants to be anonymous or not, but we'll call her Mal, and she's from Trinidad. So this story takes place in 2023, when Mal graduated and went on to a university. So backstory. Her family is Christian and was born and raised in the church. Once she got to the university, it was cool for the most part. She had her own dorm to herself. She wasn't in anyone's way. She was just going to class, coming back, and doing her thing. When she first got her dorm, her being a devoted Christian, she used to pray all over her room. Every single day, wake up, pray, pray, pray. And everything was going great. It was normal until she got a roommate. So the roommate comes in, and the first thing the roommate does is criticize her on how excited she is to meet her. However, Mal is just a charismatic person. The girl was like, yeah, girl, I don't like all that. And Mal was like, okay, all right. And just basically moved on with her day. Didn't think too much of it. And when I tell you, based on this story, this girl was weird. Like, whenever Mal would have her boyfriend, like, you know, her little ting-ting at the dorm, this girl would just storm out. For what? And like, not only was she storming out, making a scene, but she was storming out to go tell the RA. Like, you gonna snitch? The situations escalated so much between Mal and her roommate that they almost fought. He was ready to put the paws on her. So fast forward, the roommate ended up opening up to Mal about her past. And this girl had a troubled past. She opened up to her about her mom and where she's from. And yes, the other girl is Caribbean, but so is Mal. As they talking, opening up, kikiing, politicking, roommates gets a little too comfortable and opens up to Mal and tells her that if they had fought, she was going to unalive her. Because it's multiple nights that she watches her while she's sleeping. Bro? So as this girl is speaking on and on, just revealing all the secrets, it dawns on Mal, it's not just this girl inside this body. As a matter of fact, she might have other entities inside of her. She's had multiple dreams about this girl doing sexual things to her. And you know what they say about those dreams. So like Mom mentioned earlier, her and her family were close and they were also very loving. However, her roommate came from the opposite. She came from foster care, and I guess she really envied Mal in how loving and just open and authentic that she could just be in life. And on top of that, she dared to have a close family that loved her and stuff. Like how dare she? Fast forward, Mal's entire life starts going downhill. And I mean like down. After her and her roommate became cool, she lost all her other friends. All the friends that she made in college, she lost all of them. All that work, and what did it get me? Why did I do it? And also, this girl had an issue with everybody else. Mal is just chilling, trying to give this girl a chance because she genuinely believes that she's just misunderstood. Mal at this point was always arguing with her man to the point where they winded up breaking up. Her family went totally downhill. And yes, everybody in that family is Christian. It is held together by prayer, and Jesus. So how can this be? Mal just lost energy. She got lazy out of nowhere and just stopped going to class. So much so that she winded up getting kicked out of college. So one day, this girl invites Mal over to go meet her mother. Now, Mal said that she's been to her house before, but this time she felt something particularly weird. She felt a presence on her mom. And because she feels this presence on the mom, I guess she's kind of like acting a little bit suspicious. The mom being suspicious that she's suspicious, the mom is like, She threw her foster daughter under the bus by asking, Mal, did your roommate ever tell you that she's working black magic on you? The girl trying to cut her mother off is like, no, mommy, no, I didn't tell her, no. Then it's like a switch happens because suddenly the mom gets really angry. Her voice is different and she just starts casting a spell on Mal. And Mal, being horrified, just starts to pray. And she's just profusely just praying to God. Thank God nothing works because she was able to get up and leave. And as she's leaving, freaking Mal is yelling out to her like, I'm so sorry, like, I'm sorry, please. Charoy. In the end, she would learn that her life was deeply in hell because her roommate and her mother were working witchcraft on her. Sometimes just being too jolly in life will get you fucked up. That's why you gotta be protected. Anyway, she wound up going to her family. They went to church, and this is all still happening right now in her life, she says. For some reason, Mal saw her roommate one more time after that whole incident in her crib. For some reason, she didn't tell me why. She said till this day, the old roommate still reaches out to her, but now she just does not reply because she's still dealing with the repercussions from her life being in literal hell. Thank you for listening. If you are new here on my channel, we are so close to 100,000 followers. So please make sure you're subscribed. No, wait, you follow. Wrong platform. But like while you're at it, you better go over to my YouTube channel because I have longer and better and more interesting stories over to my YouTube. And also, just support your girl. And like also make sure you follow me on Instagram just so that I know it's real, duh. But I love you, my abducted humans. As you guys can see, the community is growing. We are getting bigger every day. I am humbled. Mwah. Posting a new story every day because I am off of work. Yeah. So picture this. Spooky story time. I don't know if you want to watch this one at night. But picture this. You doze off and then you wake up and you realize that you're in a car. You look over next to you and you realize that your mother is driving the car. So she's driving the car and she's like, oh, you're up. And you look over and you're like, hey, mother, blah, blah, blah. So you're in this car just waking up from your nap and your mom is driving you somewhere. And she starts asking you these questions. She's asking you about school, like, hey, how are your grades in school? And you're replying, you're like, yeah, my grades in school are pretty good, da 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 da. And she's like, I can always tell when you're lying to me. And because your mom and your father always had a tumultuous relationship, and your mother starts asking you about your father, it's not weird. Asking you how you're doing with your dad, and you're like, yeah, things are not really that well, but what can you do? And she's being very encouraging, like, I know you're going through things, but just so you know, like, I'm always here for you, like, you can talk to me if anything. And at this point you're embarrassed because that's your mother and you don't really want to tell her about your personal business. You guys even stopped at the mall and got some new clothes. So while you're at the mall with your mother, you start to smell the mall food, and your mom loves to eat, so you're like, yo mom, this would be the perfect time for you to try this spot. And your mom, for some reason, even though she loves food, is like, nah, it's okay, I don't need food today. Let's just get back to the car. It's weird, but you don't question too much of it. You just get back in the car with your mom. So you're back in the car and she starts driving again. She starts talking about how she doesn't want to stay away from you and how she misses you every single day. She suddenly says, we're running out of time, but I have to say, I really enjoy doing these regular mundane things with you. And you look at your mom and you're like, what do you mean we're running out of time? And as you look at her to ask her this question, you also look at the car and it dawns on you. Wait, my mother doesn't even know how to drive. So you start looking around and you look at your mother again just driving this car, and you look back and you look at your mother again and she gives you a reassuring smile, and in that moment you remember that your mother is dead. So you shake yourself up because you realize you're in a dream. So when you tried to wake up, you couldn't. So you look to your ghost mother driving this vehicle and you let her know that this is a dream. You're not real and you passed away. She looks back at you and says, honey, what? This is not a dream. This is real. I never died. How can you say I'm dead when I'm right here? And in that moment, you start having a panic attack because you realize you're talking to a ghost, a dead person. And because you're freaking out so much, your dead mother starts to plead to you. No, please, we don't have that much time. I just want to spend this time just driving with you and doing motherly things. I didn't think you were going to wake up and realize we were supposed to do these mother-daughter activities and you weren't supposed to remember because I am your mom. You look at your mother and no matter how real it felt, you tell her that I know you're dead and I have to go. And then she said, okay, it's sad that I can't see you this way, but I will always be with you. And that person's story is me. That was another time that mother had visited me in my dreams, and it was normal. I guess I only freaked out when I realized she was dead. I would go on to have a lot of other dreams of my mother and I doing firsts together. Her teaching me how to cook, her talking to me about love, but I never remember that she's dead in those dreams because they always feel so real. It used to happen so often that now I'm damn near freaking out that I haven't had one of those dreams about her in a long time. even though I don't see her in my dreams often these days anymore. And it's hard for me to feel a connection some days, and that's hard. She will forever be in my heart. Those memories that she's left with me while she was alive, and in my dreams, I will forever cherish those. She left me with a bunch of memories and stories, and I live to tell them to you guys on the internet. Anyway, I love you guys, my abducted humans. Thank you guys so much for listening to this story. I have so many more where that comes from. So y'all, we are on the road to 100,000 followers on TikTok. Woo! And 10,000 subscribers on YouTube. Even more. Woo! Thank you guys so much. Continue to share, comment, and if you haven't already, subscribe to my YouTube channel because I post more of these types of dark, spooky, and mysterious stories. And if you have not already, make sure you follow me on Instagram just so that I know that it's real. Duh. If you or somebody that you know is struggling with grief, just know that even though it feels like it's never ending, you will find things to smile about again. There's still light at the end of the tunnel. That person's departure from this realm doesn't mean that everything you've ever shared with that person is gone with them. And we all know that caterpillars must transform into a butterfly. So death is not an end, but more so a rebirth into another realm. And Maria Lee Polidor will forever live in the realm of my heart.